We also have an issue on the second toe of the left foot. The left foot, second toe. This one right here. And what we have is a spider bite on that toe. Happened about 18 months ago. That hasn't healed properly. And now it has this sharp ridge of tissue that hurts the big toe because it rubs up against the big toe next to it. Oh, there's interest upstairs. And while also itself remaining really tender and swollen, so it's hurting its neighbor while also being hurt. And in addition, in that same toe, there's this old workplace injury, literally from when that body was in college, so a long, long time ago. It hadn't been a problem for a long time, but it's an issue in the tendons and the nerves, and now lately it seems to be flaring. And that's been causing painful numbness and loss of function. And this might be the most important point, that for a long time that body-mind was wearing a protective bandage around that toe.
Because of the spider bite.
Because of the spider bite.
It's for 15, 16 months maybe.
Exactly. And in the past 2 weeks, for the first time, that bandage seems to be cutting off the circulation, cutting off the blood flow into that toe.
It's like an elastic sock, a toe sock.
Yes. Thank you very much. And they are interested in that symptom upstairs. And they're starting to talk about smaller dimensions, very, very small dimensions. And they're starting to talk about circulation and flow. And they're talking about, they're showing this image that looks kind of like a well shaft or a long tunnel that reaches down. And they're talking about flow and the cutting off of flow. And nobody upstairs wants to take responsibility for whatever it is they're talking about. And it's more like they're not talking about it, but the not talking is very loud in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that sense that we sometimes feel when we get up to these really high dimension rooms, where it feels like they wanted something from smaller dimensions and were mining for whatever it was that they wanted, and they never thought it would come back to bite them. They never thought there would be consequences, and they never thought really that anybody would notice.
Right.
Surely even if somebody did notice, it seems so unlikely that anybody would take any kind of action about it. It all just seems like a really safe bet to be able to exploit the resources of the smaller dimensions. And it's fascinating because while if I look at it from one angle, it feels like mining, like extracting resources from smaller dimensions. If I look at that same feeling that's connected to that toe from the opposite angle, it looks like injecting, like karma dumping or other injecting of lower vibrations into a smaller dimension, which is the opposite action from their perspective in the higher dimensions. But both of those
they're exploitative.
Exactly. They're both exploitative actions. And now if I really look up, I can find the presences who are supervising that group of angels and godly presences who weren't talking about what the toe represents, but were thinking about what the toe represents. And I can find their supervisors who seem to feel like they seem to feel like they wish this had not been brought to their attention, because now they're going to have to address it somehow, and they would much rather have continued on with their mourning as they had planned to have it. And really, to these big supervisors, it might be important that we make the point that we know this isn't really about a toe, and now somebody is crying because there's a lot of tears in the eyes. We know this is actually about something much, much bigger, and we just happen to have this mnemonic signal of the toe.
It's a message bringer.
Exactly.
And we also know that we don't have legal standing under divine law. We totally do get that.
Exactly.
We definitely know.
Super not confused about that.
But this is still a beautiful message, and to not waste it.
That's
it's a good
true.
message. It's very clear.
I hear those words kind of echoing in the room with those higher presences. Like it's hanging in the air. And now, if I really merge in, I can feel the vibration of the message itself. It looks kind of like a lantern, a small light. I wonder if I can get it up higher, because I don't think those presences are going to do anything that makes the situation better.
It looks like Diogenes' lantern.
Doesn't it? The Greek figure who was a real man who lived on planet Earth, Diogenes, who would walk around the market with a lantern in broad daylight, and people would say, "What are you doing, Diogenes?" And he would say, "I'm looking for an honest man." And he'd walk around with that lantern, and now it's starting to feel like the message that's inside that toe, and maybe the others also, is kind of distilled into this lantern. And it's opening up a very big hole in the sky, very tall hole in the sky above us. Let's see if we can go higher. Let's see if we can get to bigger rooms, higher rooms, taller rooms. Maybe we try to add the other toe, another toe, because it's opening up and I don't want to lose that. Okay, so through that big hole in the sky, still on the left foot, but in the big toe, this toe right here that you can feel through my fingers, there we go, that left big toe seems to have an internal infection that might be caused by the treatments of the neighboring second toe. There we go, now it feels like they're locking in and they understand what's happening. And we're asking what now to heal the root cause of this internal infection, and whatever it represents, in such a way as to stop the destruction in a fair and just way. Now it's like one of those trap doors is opening up, and there are these words playing, almost like a recorder is playing them, like an old tape recorder. And I don't know exactly where the sound is coming from, but it's saying all life on Earth is being destroyed by humanity using tools sent in by the spirit world. And it's saying it like they're reading it off a paper. And they say, what now to stop the destruction in a fair and just way? And they're showing the big toe and the second toe on the left foot of the Lynn Life Collective, and the way that the second toe is rubbing on the big toe, hurting the big toe, and also hurting itself, obviously. But how the two of them being right next to each other like that is making it worse for both of them.
Oh, it's like how it is in marriages. We know many marriages where the people, instead of helping each other become better people, they support each other in becoming their worst possible versions of themselves.
Absolutely. It's like that, and they're drawing the line between that dysfunction and this situation where all of life on Earth is being destroyed, using those tools that the spirit world sent into humanity. They're drawing lines between those two messages.
Oh, body, spirit malfunctions, and how the bodies poison the souls, and the souls poison the bodies, and everybody's making it worse for each other. That could be it.
And it's kind of, someone in that higher dimension room is saying it's kind of like toes, where there isn't really a great way for us to separate the big toe from the toe next to it.
No.
Like, that's not really an option. And they're saying it's like that because really without the souls, the bodies are just zombies. And without the bodies, the souls just become like smoke. And they keep pointing to it with big pointy fingers. And maybe what this is starting to feel like is, you know, in Star Wars Episode 1, A New Hope, when Princess Leia has made a recording and put it on R2-D2 and sent R2-D2 with the recording. It's starting to feel like making the tape recording and sending the tape recording up.
Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Exactly.
You're our only hope.
Like, we got as high up as we could get with the lantern, and now we come to this signal, the message of these two toes hurting each other, making it worse for each other, and the connection that's being overlaid by this really nice group of angels of the soul-body dysfunctions, where we can't separate them really without making the situation way worse, but they're hurting each other with their interactions and with their mutual dysfunctions. Now we can start to send that up, because I don't feel anyone who is interested in changing the situation at all, and I'm not saying they're supposed to be interested in that. We can send that message up higher, and that blows open an even taller hole in the sky. What it's starting to feel like is we're getting up into those levels of the dimensions where it's fashionable to pretend that problems in smaller dimensions are entirely contained within that dimension. Like, all the bad things that are happening down there, they have caused down there, and so they should solve it down there. Like, all those little people suffering in the depths, well, it's tragic in a kind of vague and disconnected way that they're suffering in the depths, but that's really their problem and not related to us at all.
Kind of how we relate to suffering, let's say, at the electron level.
Exactly.
It's like, well, I have nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
Quote unquote.
And I can't really be bothered to think about it at all.
No, I have enough problems of my own.
Exactly.
Quote unquote.
And now it's starting to really open up upstairs. Sending these messages up, and now maybe we go to the next toe, 'cause I'm starting to get that feeling of you better get it on the table.
Get it on the table.